Namaskaram, everybody. Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Kṛṣṇa Parabrahmane Namaha, Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Parabrahmane Namaha, Shri Lakshmi Hayavadana Parabrahmane Namaha, Sarvam Shri Kṛṣṇa Arpanamastu. Hope you can hear me. Can you hear me well? I just had to check my, sometimes my, Wi-Fi is okay, everything is okay. Hold on a second.
Yes.
Good. Let's start in it. Okay, Zoom. I'm just going to share the, let's see. I'm going to cancel. So, see, what I wanted to let you know was my grandfather's work is heavily dependent on yoga. That means his approach is heavily dependent on yoga. And he was a practitioner. So we first have to understand, does yoga work? Is just yoga a bunch of exercises, making body poses, arms and legs and everything twisted and things like that? Or is it something more? This is a question everybody will ask. And even a practitioner, that means somebody who's practicing yoga, would always think that is there something beyond? I've been living for a long time here, several decades on this earth, and I haven't seen any God or anything like that. And they'll come and say, oh, no, Kṛṣṇa, haven't you seen the temple out there? Beautiful, deity of Kṛṣṇa, beautiful deity of Rama, or something like that, somebody would say. But somebody like an atheistic guy like me would say, I'm just giving you an example, just humor me. So if I'm very atheistic, what would I say? All I saw was a bunch of stones and metal and things like that. And somebody was pouring milk on the metal, and somebody was pouring water on the metal. Somebody was throwing flowers on the metal. And that's what I saw. Don't you think this is what a scientist would see in a temple? So what happens is this human beings are taught in science or in their lives to doubt something and verify something before they accept anything. Isn't it very normal? This is very normal. Even for a practitioner, the person may lose faith in the practice. The person may lose faith in yoga, saying that, okay, some people said that something would happen during this yoga and nothing happened to me. I tried it for like 30 years or something like that. It was a waste of time. That's what somebody would say. So yoga is a waste of time. Many people can come to this decision, even after 30, 40 years of trying out yoga of different kinds. So, well, then obviously the scientific view, particularly the atheistic scientific views, how many people here know a guy called Richard Dawkins? Anybody?
Yes.
Anybody else? Nobody else? Haven't heard of Richard Dawkins? Interesting. You can Google the guy, and if you want to become an atheist, he is your guru. He's a British guy who can talk very well. He's a very brilliant guy. Okay. So similarly, people are there like Daniel Dennett, another Western guy. I think he passed away. Daniel Dennett was a professor at some Philadelphia or somewhere, and he's also a brilliant talker. There are so many such scientists, extremely brilliant, who have come out to the idea that, look, all this idea of self or a Jīvātmā is just a figment of imagination. And if Jīvātmā itself is a figment of imagination, what to talk about God or their deities, Devata, Indra, and all those things? that's just, would say, mythology, some kind of, even though they talk about Greek mythology, oh, the Thor, the god of the storms and things like that. And what happens is it becomes more like fairy tales, more like imagination, wonderful, comics or books for children to just have fun, just to run their imagination wild, right? So obviously, yoga can be highly confusing. People to have trust in yoga, they may never get it to start with. So, what today's, I'm just giving you an introduction. Today's and tomorrow's lecture would be to understand what is yoga, how do you separate it out from scientific inquiry, is yoga believable, and then understand the processes of yoga in somewhat in Advaita and how it compares with the other Vedantic systems. What do they think about yoga? And then comes up the fundamental ideology, right? What my grandfather strongly believes, and there are similar people who believe like that, is one has to understand the Upanishads. We are talking about Kena Upaniṣad today, right? It was initially Kena Upaniṣad. So to understand any Upanishad, one has to understand the mind of Kṛṣṇa in Bhagavad Gītā. So that is the guideline given in the Vishishtadvaita way of thinking for sure. So in the Vishishtadvaita way of thinking, Kṛṣṇa's words are final. And you have to understand the Sanskrit and all the different views of Kṛṣṇa's way of talking, instead of superimposing somebody else's thought or the Upanishad thought over Bhagavad Gītā. See, obviously, all these three are similar, or they're not distinct and different from each other. That is, Brahma Sutra, Upanishad, and the Bhagavad Gītā. These are the Prasthanatraya. Prasthanatraya means the three pillars of Vedanta. What are the three pillars of Vedanta? The Bhagavad Gītā, the Upanishads, and the Brahma Sutras. So the whole of Vedanta stands on this three-legged stool. Advaita thinks there are three separate prasthanas. Separate prasthanas means three separate sciences in a way. Even though they sort of intrinsically agree that all these three are saying the same thing, they say the Shruti Prasthana or the Prasthana coming from the Upanishads have to be the ultimate because they are Apaurusheya. Apaurusheya means they came directly from the vision of the rishis. The rishis saw. Rishayaha mantra drashtaraha. They saw reality. They saw the supreme reality. And they spoke. And those words are the Vedas. It was not written. It was expressed. All right. If I see a movie and say, I saw this in a movie, I'm not the author of the movie. So if somebody sees a reality, somebody goes up there and looks at Mount Everest and, oh, this is how it is, that's how it is. That is not a creation of the person who is mountaineering. The mountaineer is not creating the Mount Everest. He's looking at it and saying, this is how it is. Similarly, the rishis saw reality and expressed that in the form of Vedas. And that is considered Apaurusheya, that means unauthored, not authored by anybody. So that is the highest value, that is of highest value according to Advaitins. And they say that the other things have to be modified as per the Upanishads or understood in the light of the Upanishads. But everybody says the same thing. I mean, all the three have the same view, but we're going to derive a lot of information from the Upanishads and superimpose and make sure the other things are in sync. So they interpret the Brahma Sutras and interpret the Bhagavad Gītā based on the Upanishad interpretation or understanding. On the other hand, Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya give a lot of value for other, that is Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gītā. Bhagavad Gītā, they give a lot of information, importance. Madhvacharya gives a lot of importance to Mahabharata and Bhagavata. So the interpretations vary, but what is unique about Gita? Can anybody say what is most unique about Gita? What is it? Try. There is no wrong answer. Just try. Tell me, what do you feel? Unmute and talk. Yeah, I heard one from Adi, it is God's words. I couldn't hear you, Wayne. For some reason, you are unmuted, but I cannot hear you at all.
I didn't say anything. I was waiting for you to give me the okay. Did you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, I didn't say anything. I raised my hand and
okay,
until you say,
What
until you
was your
acknowledge
question?
me. I didn't have a question. I was going to answer your question. You said.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, what's unique? It's God actually speaking to man. You know.
True.
And
True.
I don't have any other place where that occurs.
True. See, this is the only place where you find God directly talking to human beings, and that is Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gītā. In fact, I don't know if there is a equivalent in any other religion or philosophy. Not sure. So, in the Hindu context, it is taken to be very important that, look, all the three acharyas, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and several other acharyas agree that Krishna is Narayana. Narayana is actually Parabrahman. So there is no disagreement. If that is the case, to doubt his words or the way it is, some people can say, actually, no, it was not Krishna's words, but actually Vyasa, the author of Mahabharata, directly realized everything and wrote it. So it is still the words of the Vyasa, not exactly the words of Krishna, because Krishna was in the battlefield talking to Arjuna, and everybody was far away. And the Sanjaya had this divine vision of the whole war and the Bhagavad Gītā preaching, and so it is all like Sanjaya's words and things like that. And it was the author of the entire Mahabharata is Vyasa. But thing is, what they say is Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya. So thing is, Vyasa is assumed to be another form of Vishnu. So he would not give you some wrong information. So he is actually sincerely saying what Krishna said. So with that assumption, we go. And all acharyas agree that Krishna is to be believed. So even though Advaita takes the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gītā as the Smriti Prasthana, Smriti is a separate section. Shruti is the Vedas. Even though they take it, they definitely honor Krishna and Krishna's words. So whatever may be this introduction, coming back to Sampatanga's view, he said that strictly we have to understand that Nammalvar, the teacher of Ramanujacharya or the influencer of Ramanujacharya, strongly believed that Krishna's words to be understood properly first and understand everything else from those words. Similarly, my grandfather also thought it's better to understand Bhagavad Gītā properly. So what question? Any question? Okay. So the thing is, what we are going to do today is to understand Kena Upaniṣad, we have to understand Īśāvāsya Upanishad. To understand Īśāvāsya Upanishad, we have to fundamentally know what yoga is. So first we will understand what is yoga. Tomorrow we may even try to get some kind of how is yoga hidden in the Bhagavad Gītā. What are the main steps of yoga in the Bhagavad Gītā? Just if you can summarize it and say these are the steps in the Bhagavad Gītā. How a yoga means it is an ascent of a aspirant from low level, from almost like the animal level here to the divine realized level. So what happens when that person spiritually transcends the lower levels and goes higher and higher and higher? So that is the yoga, the steps in spiritual realization. So we will try to understand the yogic steps in the Bhagavad Gītā tomorrow. Today, so we haven't even started the Īśāvāsya Upanishad yet. We're going to first understand what is yoga and is that reliable? Is yoga even a valid method? What really happens? And what happens in yoga? Usually what they talk about, so many yogis will come and say, I went into samadhi. What does it mean? So we will analyze only these things today. And then tomorrow we'll pick up probably the steps of yoga in the Gita. Then we start the Īśāvāsya Upanishad as ideology. Right? This is how it is. So is the path clear? Any questions in the way, the process, or any objections to the process we have right now? Any questions? Free, talk to me. So you understand where we're going? Everything clear? I have no feedback.
Yes, it sounds good. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you. From Adi, so this yoga method, what is it? Is yoga method not the Ashtanga Yoga? The Ashtanga Yoga is a part of the Gita and everything like that. So Ashtanga Yoga is not against any of these yogas. Ashtanga Yoga focuses on the Kaivalya or the or realization of self only. But that is a part of the Bhagavad Gita, part of everything. So we are not disagreeing with Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, then we'll start. Let me share my presentation. One second. Can you see my screen? Just let me 1 second, please. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Let's go further. Okay. We were continuing with the introduction to the Īśāvāsya Upanishad earlier. In that, I'm just going to mention a couple of things which are very important to understand Īśāvāsya Upanishad. And then we'll switch over to where we were going. So, the fundamental idea in philosophy, in particularly Vedanta philosophy, is what is the value? We are talking from the perspective of the Vedas. In the Vedas, some portion of it is actually dedicated to rituals only. The rituals are it's a way of communicating with the devatas, who are forces in the world, deities who are forces in the world, who have certain capabilities, right? And so to communicate with them, we have the idea of the mantras, the mantra bhaga or the Brahmana bhaga in the Vedas. Then come the Upaniṣads, which are the Jnana bhaga, Jnana kanda, which comes later. So is there any value for rituals and activity? Karma in general, activity in general, Is there any value? So that is taken up. And the Advaita view is karma is only preparatory, just purificatory. It will purify your mind, and then everything should be jnana only. And the person who is a knowledgeable person, jnani, who can probably give up karma altogether at certain point. That kind of a ideology is prominent in the Advaita view, and that is strongly argued against by the Vishishtadvaita teachers. Here, Vedanta Deshika, what he says is, work is not separate from what the Upanishads teach. Work and knowledge are combined with each other. In fact, he says dedicated students are encouraged to reflect on Brahman, the ultimate reality, in a way that elevates work to the same level as thought, transforming their entire life into a service to the cosmos. This forms the foundation of the Ishavasya Upanishad, and we'll come to the next Sanskrit later. So what does it mean? See, initially, how do you define work? You have a family, say you have a family. Then you have this attachment and say, okay, somehow I'm going to help my family people. So your work starts, okay, let me earn for my family. Let me do this let me teach my children. Let me take my family to a vacation or something. Let them be happy. So your work sort of runs around your commitments to the initial first circle, the family circle, right? The next, it is probably for an association or a community or something. Then it goes to it could be all the countries or the world itself. So I want to do something good for the world. You can take it to that level. What the Hindu thought says is there are different things. You didn't come up in just this world is not the only reality. There are sacred forces, deities all over the universe, and they are helping you. The water you eat, water you drink, the rains, the storms, the sun and the moon, the stars, everything, they are guided by some deities. So you have to be in sync with the deities. So devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha. You have to help them, and they will help you in return. So once your knowledge becomes deeper and deeper and deeper, you find that you didn't just turn up here on earth one fine day when you were born. There are so many deities at work, and you owe it to them every moment because you're eating, drinking, breathing because of the deity's power. So you need to communicate with them. You need to say thanks to them. But these are some commitments. There are also commitments in just family for older people who have passed away, who are in a different zone. You still have some commitments as to memory of them and to be thankful to them for giving you a body, a human body, which is far more advanced than the animal body. And they've given you an opportunity to go into eventually become perfect or perfectly happy. So those are also forms of karma. So what happens is karma, as the knowledge increases, the karma is connected. You will become a global citizen or the citizen of the cosmos by being good to one another, because you cannot do it alone in this universe. Even to breathe, to think, somebody else is doing it for you right now. You have not designed your speech. You have not designed your neural network in the neurons in your brain. So some things have they're all external to you. So be thankful to what they give you. So what happens is work and thought represents two main paths in philosophical inquiry, right? The Eastern and Western thinkers may think differently about it. And most people think thought to be just a mental work, and physical work something like bodily work is physical and mental work is thought. So the Western philosophers separate mind and matter. And so they separated, mind is separate and matter is separate. This is the theory of René Descartes or something like that, the duality theory. So what happens is human beings view as mind and matter. And this is how the Western philosophy has progressed in general. Right? There are a lot of changes in Western philosophy. I'm not talking, just these are general ideas. Coming back to the Sanskrit here, what the Sanskrit says is samhito dahartam should be, there is some mistake here. Samhito dahartam sarvam viniyoga prataktvataha. This is something wrong. The sentence has to be rewritten. Vidyartam syadeti vyaktam nibandhosya tadantataha. What it says is, even though in the Īśāvāsya Upanishad, the mantras, the Upanishad itself is in the Karma Kanda, where the mantras are said, which are used for rituals. So even though it is not in the Jnana Kanda or something, it is in the Karma Kanda. What it is there may be mantras in the Karma Kanda for rituals, but the same mantras can be used by a mumukshu or a person who wants release from the cycle of births and deaths as indicating knowledge of Brahman or towards Jnana. So even though the mantras may say something to do some particular work, Agnihotra, for example, Agnihotra is the daily duty of a married person to continue Agnihotra every day as a thanks to the deities. But many people don't do it. Most people don't do it. Only a fraction of people may do it. So the Agnihotra can be used for purposes of going to heaven, or the same Agnihotra can be used for the purposes of attaining Brahman or moksha. So the thing is, the same mantras can be used differently. Similarly, what is said here is assume or understand Īśāvāsya Upanishad, even though it is in the Karma Kanda, is actually it gives you the knowledge of Brahman. So this is an introduction. This verse is an introduction to the Īśāvāsya Upanishad given by Vedanta Deshika. Coming back to this, the way we think in general, I'm not saying Western thought, Eastern thoughts, but we human beings think in a particular way, which is more like psychology and physics. Psychology refers to our mind. Physics is everything else in a rough way. I have mentioned all these things, that's why I'm skipping, right? Okay, how do we, now we have to understand, if somebody says, okay, do yoga, you will see God and Atman and everything like that. Somebody would say, are you nuts? Are you dreaming or something? There's nothing like that. Everything is just reality. So we need to understand how our mind works, and is there a way to understand something beyond mind? That's something we need to constantly think about and be clear about it. So what my grandfather has done is given some introduction to give that how does mind work and how do we understand science and how can we change the same tools we have. We have our senses and mind to understand science, the same senses and mind to understand something beyond science, something beyond a sensual understanding or sensory or physical universe. So we need to understand how we work very well. So reason leads to indirect knowledge, right? You reason out and say, what is direct knowledge? If you see fire in the hill, that is direct knowledge. If you just see the smoke coming out, and because there is smoke, there is fire, that becomes an indirect knowledge. So you reason out and you call it as, okay, that's why I know there is fire on the hill, even though I don't see the flames. So reason is always indirect knowledge. So the way mind understands is, it understands through analysis, synthesis, and refinement, right? So that's how mind process. This is something very, you can always understand it. There's nothing wrong, complicated in it. Just he's putting everything in some kind of an order, that's all. So when you reason out something, then you come out with some kind of truths and say this is rational truth. So the mind develops through perception, reception, and conception. What is perception? Perception is understanding the world through our senses, while reception is simply receiving the stimuli. That is, if you see a light, actually the light rays are coming and hitting on your retina, and then the retina is the information going to the brain, and the brain is interpreting it, right? Just receiving impulses, that is reception, right? It's receiving stimuli. And conception is creating an idea out of it. So what does our mind do? It creates a new idea based on stimuli. That is the conception. This happens in any process. You see a rainbow, you say, okay, is that real or something like that? Then you rationalize. No, it happens because of light waves and then you get a rainbow. Oh, then it is real. Then the mind comes up with all this concept and goes, oh, this is the concept of rainbow. Similarly, if you go further, so the development follows logical progression, the way we understand the world around us. And logic moves teleologically. Teleologically means so the thing is, just by looking at cause and effect, that becomes logic. In a way, that is logical too, right? But teleological thinking means it understands human behavior. To understand human behavior, you have to understand the ultimate purpose or goal underlying the actions rather than just immediate causes. So if you just know immediate causes, that's not teleological. But if you understand what is the purpose, why is this person even working? What's the goal of this person? So based on ultimate purpose and goal, if you think, that is teleological. So logic moves teleologically, that's what he's saying. Reasoning and scientific process, what happens? Reasoning is obviously induction and deduction, is pretty straightforward. And we continue, and scientific research goes through induction and deduction. And so that's how we have learned around the world over the last so many 100 years. We have understood metallurgy, geology, botany, zoology, space science, artificial intelligence, any of this, it is based on induction, deduction, and somehow making this go further. Why can't we improve these processes and continue and understand Jīvātmā, Paramātmā and all? Somehow we have not been able to. So far, it's not clear. Even though we have neuroscience, cognitive science, there's a lot of stuff, and they're coming close. So the thing is, scientific also can lead you to, oh, there is a mind, there is something, but they don't have a single view. Even if you look at the hard problem of consciousness, right? I think the hard problem of consciousness was written by a philosopher from Australia, Chalmers. I think David Chalmers came out with an idea called the hard problem of consciousness. That means we don't know who we are. We seem to understand how the I works, because I can, there's a stimuli and reaction. See, these are all simple problems, but the question of who I am, that becomes a hard problem of consciousness. What is the nature of I? What is the nature of experience and things like that? So he comes out with it. Philosophically, he comes out. But there is no real single theory in science to understand consciousness. If they come out with the idea of panpsychism, the dual aspect of the knower and the known. There are 20, 30 different theories to understand what consciousness is from the scientific perspective. And that is happening in the last 20, 30 years. You keep on hearing this scientific view into consciousness, but they don't have a single solution yet. So basically, the science is driven by support to humanity. For example, I used to hear some professors 25, 30 years back, what's your PhD thesis in? They said, if the guy comes out and say, I'm working on consciousness and mind, everybody would laugh at him and say, you will never get any funding. Nobody wants this information. So probably they could complete a PhD, but they would never get a job. So why is this? Because in science, you're trying to help others. The community should see value. Why are people putting so many billions of dollars into artificial intelligence? Because in AI, that is going to help us, help the whole community or the world or something like that. So the way the science moves is to help everybody, right? That's how science is moving towards. Philosophy is something, spiritual something is to yourself find out what the truth is. That's a different subject altogether. I'm going to summarize something because I don't want to go deeper into all these things. Somebody came up with a supermind concept. I think that is Aurobindo, and that I'm not going to talk too much about today. So how does science go beyond what they see? They have to have something known as intuition, right? That intuition is figuring out within yourself what is the idea there. That's what is intuition. And scientific intuition means whether it is real or not, it's important. It becomes hypothetical. So in science, even if it is something is untrue, they can have an intuition about it. Oh, this might be probably, it becomes speculation and hypothetical, but not real. May not be real. So what if yoga or Atma or Jīvātmā, Paramātmā are this just hypothetical concepts? According to scientists, they're hypotheses. Suppose we have Jīvātmā, how does it work? Suppose we have Paramātmā, how does it work? So they don't want to mess with it because they cannot validate the reality of Jīvātmā or Paramātmā. So their source of intuition is different. For example, you may say E is equal to mc squared, what was found out by Einstein. He had a theory of relativity. He also got intuition, right? He had deep intuition into reality and said that this is true. And that was found to be true. There was nothing wrong with it. So intuition can also be physical. It does not have to be imaginary. But when it comes to intuition regarding mind and Jīvātmā, Paramātmā, the scientists only do speculation because they're not going beyond it. They cannot go beyond it. Now comes, I'll slowly filter into what yoga is, okay? Because the yoga and science come very close to each other. We need to respect it. So what is intuition again? Sometimes I repeat ideas. It will only, at least it will help me understand it more clearly. Hopefully it's of some value. So intuition is tuition from outside. So outside is reasoning. From different sources, you reason out and get knowledge. That is intuition. Intuition is knowledge gained by mind from sources outside tuition. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. So the thing is, tuition is from reason. Tuition is reason. That is, reason is from external objects and your own idea, your own experience and things like that. But intuition is gained by the mind from sources outside reasoning. It's beyond reasoning. That is intuition. Scientists consider intuition to be hypothetical. I'm repeating it, so I just need to push away. Okay, I have not organized my PPT very well today. Okay, I will quickly go. And now switch over to what is first thing we need to understand. Some terms we have to understand, right? Even in science, we use this word intuition, and this intuition is a tuition from inside. That is, from inside you get some idea. And inspiration is its influence on the available stock of knowledge. So inspiration comes from within too, and it will start influencing you in different ways. And revelation is the resultant of conclusive knowledge. Once everything is put together, you suddenly realize that this is what the new concept is. That becomes revelation. But these are used in science too. Scientists use this often. They say, I have an intuition. They say, I was inspired by this idea. And they also say, I got a revelation that this is the truth. So science can also use the same terms. But how does Hinduism use it? Yoga uses it. Let's look at it. So let's look at the framework of knowledge of Hinduism. Why am I putting all these things together for you? One should not come out and say yoga is just a hocus pocus, imaginary crap they came up with. It's just like, some concoction of physical exercises and some mental belief systems. And that's it. And nothing more than that. Why would I want to do yoga? There's nothing called Jīvātmā. There's no value in understanding spiritual world. There's nothing called spiritual world. People can constantly ask this question, particularly not everybody. Ordinary people don't care what yoga is. But if somebody gets interested, I really want to find out something beyond matter. I want to do it. I will do it at any cost. If somebody has that willpower, the hunger, they can also start doubting that, am I really getting it? I think I'm getting some ideas of Jīvātmā, Paramātmā, but that may be just my own concoctions in my mind. So a yogi has to constantly separate out wrong information from the right information. So how does the yogi think? He does look for Pramāṇa. Pramāṇa is reasoning, anumāna, and pratyakṣa. Pratyakṣa is direct sight, direct experience, and reasoning, which is anumāna. The sources of knowledge for atheist is direct sensual knowledge. We know that, right? For the theist, it is upadeśa. What is upadeśa? Some teacher who has already traveled the path and who is long further away from you, that is, he is an advanced person, he can guide you, and that is upadeśa. Okay? And upadeśa is not just like, if the person is not convinced, he should not be doing upadeśa. If the person is not ahead of you, you cannot receive upadeśa from that person. So, reason, we already know that it is deduction and induction. And for the atheistic mind, which does not believe in a spirit, what happens? Reason leads to abstractions. So abstraction is a complex understanding of a concept, right? So reasoning and, oh, this is what it is. This is how it works. So for that atheistic mind, it's all abstractions. In the theistic mind, what happens? Truth is determined by synthesis of all standard thoughts, and keeps within bounds without losing appreciation in abstractions. The abstractions are not wrong, but you need to go through all standard thoughts, means the Vedas and the experience of the rishis should be taken into consideration. Then only a theistic mind can progress towards the goal of receiving and having the revelation and realization of spiritual entities. Okay, here it's important. See, in scientific view also, we talk about inspiration, and then you also talk about revelation. And I'm sure Einstein might have even got E is equal to mc squared in his mind before he wrote down anything. Oh, I know how the relativity works. I know how energy mass transformation works. I got the idea. So he sees truth, the concept, which cuts across everything in this universe. And that's why Einstein is so famous, because he found out a law in the universe which is really true. And he got that, he saw it, right? That is his revelation. The Hindu minds also accept this kind of revelation. We are not against it. The Hindu mind says that the inspiration which comes from within actually is a gift from God, is a gift from beyond. Because here, it didn't come from me, the inspiration didn't come from me, so obviously there's a powerful entity who gave that information to me. So it assumes that there's a possibility of God. There's a possibility of spiritual, a separate existence beyond matter. How do you become receptive to that, to be open to the fact that there may be spiritual reality in addition to material reality? For that, you need to have absolute faith. Without faith, you cannot go further. So you cannot do yoga when you totally don't believe in there may be a spiritual entity. You should first believe in yourself. How come I am so different? I am the knower. I am the experiencer of pain and pleasure. I am the thinker of the thoughts. I am the seer of the objects. You should know that, oh, I seem to be very distinct in this universe. If you even have that conviction, then you say, I want to see myself first. Forget God. I want to see myself because I'm unique. I'm different. So you need to have trust, faith that there is something beyond what you see externally. So we're contrasting the modern mind and the Hindu mind, because without that, you will not understand what yoga is. Okay. We already talked about this. See, in the theistic view, you need synthesis of diverse thoughts. Very important. Blending reason and faith. So reason is not given up. If I remember, I think Martin Luther came up with this idea or thought, is that only believe in faith, don't believe in reason. Because reason is a whore, is a prostitute. Why? Reason lies with truth and untruth also. This is a rough understanding. If you know who is Martin Luther, you may have a better understanding of what he said. I roughly remember this statement. He's I think, the pioneer of the Protestant Christianity movement. And what he said is, you should not believe in reason, because reason will dissuade you. Reason will confuse you. So if you're looking at spirituality, first you only need faith and faith only. Don't believe in reason. But the Hindu thought doesn't agree with it. Hindu thought says you have to combine reason and faith. Reason is not against faith. Reason can be applied, but the application areas are more in the material world. But in the spiritual world, the reasoning, only when you see the spiritual world, you can apply reason to it. Let me explain this clearly. So obviously, reason is very important in science and anything with respect to matter. This is obvious. But in spirituality, until you have seen the Jīvātmā or Paramātmā, your reason will be applied to the material realm. But once you can see Jīvātmā and Paramātmā, you can apply reasoning in that zone also. There is nothing wrong with reason. That is why in the Hindu thought, they say reason can be applied. Vaidika tarka. Shankaracharya says in one place, dustarkaihi suviram yatam shrutimatas tarko anusandhiyatam. He says, what does it mean? Go away from wrong logic, wrong arguments. Shrutimata starko anusandhiti andhiyatam. You practice and understand and obey and accept the reasoning based on the Vedas. So, reason can be applied when you really see the spiritual entities. That's one thing. I hope this is making sense. What is inspiration? Inspiration is important in science. Inspiration is important in the Hindu theistic mind, but that is a gift. So you accept something and you're open to revelation, but only when you do yoga or meditate, you will get an inspiration from outside. And that's when you say that I didn't think of it. This is not my mental concoction. I got a message from outside. That's when you know it's a revelation. It's a divine gift. So I will re-mention what Sri Ravi Shankar said. Meditation is not what you do. Meditation is what happens. Do you see the difference? You can do meditation, but that's not really meditation. Only when you get the divine gift from outside, then that is meditation. You're getting, so that means that you didn't cook up the idea of some divine experience you had. It actually came from outside. You could try and you probably could only do control your mind or something like that, or focus on something. But what you got a gift is from outside. That's when it becomes real. So yoga is not just mental imagination. It is what you receive when you do yoga, when you do meditation. Now we're slowly coming to the subject. Till now, I was beating around the bush to make sure everybody understands. If somebody is there who is very scientific and very logical or very cynical or doesn't want to believe in anything, right? Hard to please kind of people. I wanted to set the stage for all those people so far. Now I slowly will come to what is Adhyātma yoga in Hindu thought, right? Adhyātma yoga, even for atheists, there is some kind of beyond mind. They can't understand, but there's something real. And those are the scientists who come up with new ideologies, come up with new thoughts, which was not easily understandable. So they do have inspiration. They have something. The mind's the last, the last realm of the mind, the reach of the mind. When mind becomes better and better and better, they solve problems. But if it goes beyond a particular point, yes, there is some kind of revelation, inspiration coming up. They agree with it, right? For the theists, that is the starting point for transcendental experience. Why? For an atheist, for a scientist or something, they can analyze anything in the world from the microparticles and nanoparticles to the biggest black holes and galaxies and things like that, because they're all physical. Atheists, science has a problem understanding mind and self. But for theists, self and mind is the starting point for their whole understanding. That's why this is a transcendental experience beyond matter. So that is why very strong atheists are very close to theistic awakening. Upon they can get realization eventually. So there's nothing wrong with atheists. They're just looking at matter too much. That's all. So Adhyātma yoga, you can train your mind to go beyond through your own effort. And you can explore inner dimensions not yet accessible to you. So it was in ordinary life, you may not know what is this Jīvātmā, what is Paramātmā, who may be hiding everywhere. So, but using Adhyātma yoga, here Adhyātma yoga is more for self-realization. Self-realization is you're only realizing yourself. Jīvātmā, according to general Vedānta. So, what is Adhyātma yoga? Is an inward journey to the core of your own personality. So you're not going outside, you're trying to understand who is this I. And if you go deeper and deeper and deeper, you will find something. So mind, when you're focusing outside, and you may not realize who you are because you're disturbed, you're distracted by everything around you. So many thoughts, millions of thoughts. But when you go inside, you can get some alien thought waves. What do you mean by alien thought waves? Something you're not used to. Oh, something different from within. And that is when your mind starts understanding there is something within. And that's a new culture. So intuition takes over reason initially because there is an emphasis on what you directly see within. So Adhyātma yoga is a structured way of spiritual introspection and self-realization. So this is a structured way. And so many philosophers, I don't even know when Patanjali Maharshi was there. Patanjali probably was about 500 BCE or something. That's what they say about the date of Patanjali. He has a fantastic manual called the Yoga Sūtras, which clearly define the nature of mind and how you can go inward and how you can get divine powers and how you can see yourself. All these things are laid out like a manual. And even today, the modern scientists are astonished in the organized way of understanding mind as early as 500 BCE. No wonder Patanjali is known as a Maharshi, one of the greatest rishis. Right? So the thing is, Adhyātma yoga is real and it is very organized. And it is in the Hindu culture, from, by having a dress, the way they wear the dresses, the way they, decorate themselves, the way they wear bands around their waist, all these things are integrally related to the yoga shastra. And that is how Hindu ideology has developed over a few thousand years. So intuition in Hinduism does not cancel out reason, but it gives a new direction, because hitherto you were only looking at matter. But once you know there is some consciousness in it, your logic changes because consciousness acts in a different way. So you can use logic when you include in your set theory, your total set is not just matter. The set includes Jīvātmā, Paramātmā. So your reasoning becomes slightly altered. It has a new direction. So what you intuit conceptually, that becomes direct. Here I'm coming to a stronger concept here. Let me explain to you what it is. So what is, yoga gives you directions. For example, the first sutra in the Yoga Sutra says, Atha yoga anushasanam, follow my orders, don't question. So a guru in the yoga says, oh, let's discuss about yoga. What do you think? What do you think? What does he think? What does he think? She thinks. Nothing like that. Atha yoga anushasanam, yogaschitta vritti nirodhaha. Control your mind, you will get to yoga. So the thing is, there is clear directions you have to follow. And that's what yoga is about. Right? If you follow, what happens? If your mind gets calmed down 100%, darshana samanakara, or what you initially thought was concepts. What are the concepts? Jīvātmā is a concept. Concept is like, oh, this is how it is. You understand through so many, you study Bhagavad Gītā, oh, Jīvātmā, you cannot cut it, oh, you cannot dry it, you cannot burn it. Oh, this content, it is conscious, it is knowing, whatever. So you understand all the Shastras and that gives you concept, right? But if you start controlling your mind, actually, you will see it. Darshana samanakara means almost like seeing it. You can see Jīvātmā as it is, almost like. Why is it almost? Because it is not like turning a light on and, oh, I see, I left the keys here, I saw the key. It is not like this sight. It is similar to it because it's internal. Now, so when you control your mind, what is really happening in the inside, right? Focus on this, self, intellect, and mind. So once you start controlling mind, you see your intellect separate. The self is always apperceptive, that is, I know myself. Aparoksha, that means directly, without the need for my senses, without the need for my mind, I directly know myself. I is the first thing I know. That is apperceptive. But I am more mixed up with my mind. In an ordinary state, I'm mixed up with my mind. But once your mind is calm and pure, you see yourself separate from your intellect, buddhi, and mind. So buddhi and mind separate. So, oh, I know how, what is this buddhi? Buddhi is nishchayatmika. It is decisive. It knows exactly what is true and what is not true, what is bad and what is good. But mind goes all over the place. Mind can, mind can direct you here, direct you there. Your awareness is pushed into different directions. Distractions are there. This mind is doing all these things. And if too many inputs come, mind serializes the input. If there are 10 objects, the mind says, okay, look at this light first. Look at the snake first, because snake is more important than the light. Snake might kill you. So mind is giving you a serialized information to your brain or your consciousness. So you can, when the yogi controls the mind, you can see that the intellect is separate, the consciousness I is separate, all these things will become separate. So then it understands, oh, look, mind is getting influenced by thoughts and impressions. Impressions are my prior experiences, known as samskara in Sanskrit. Samskara is what the whole set of experiences I've ever had from the day I was born, and even in my past lives. They are impressions. They're very strong in our subconscious. So the thing is, then you see, okay, mind is acting based on impressions. Mind is colored. So I am not the mind. The mind is dragging me and making me attracted to so many things. But I am separate. I should stay, because if I become the slave of the mind, I will get beaten up. I will be upset and I will be very sad all the time. So now they can, the Jīvātmā, the consciousness can understand who that person is, who is mind, and what is buddhi. Here there's some, in the Hindu thought, what happens? Intuition is a process of understanding to go within, right? Inspiration is an imposition or an external idea impulse into the mind. That means you receive, while you're doing yoga, you receive external gifts, external things, which were not created by you. It could be a vision, it could be happiness, it could be a bliss, it could be anything. That comes from outside. And that is assumed to be from God. And revelation is a supernatural sight or perception. So you start seeing through something which cannot be physically seen, like Jīvātmā, Paramātmā, and that revelation comes. This is how the Hindu thought says that yoga proceeds. I'll just give you a small example. This is a story about a king. What happened was a king went hunting, and when he went hunting, he was running after the lions and tigers and with a bow and arrow, olden age, right? There were no guns there. With the bow and arrow, he was striking the animals and hunting them. And then after some time, the lions and tigers ran away, far away, and he could not go. And this person was also very exhausted. It was very hot Indian summer, somewhere like at 45 degrees or something like that, 45 degrees centigrade, maybe 100, 110 degrees Fahrenheit. So he was exhausted. And suddenly he said, oh, he saw a lake there. What he did, he rushed to the lake because he needed water so bad. So he rushed and drank the water. When he drank the water, he forgot he had a wonderful, expensive, billion-dollar crown sitting on his head. He forgot. That was loose. And the crown fell down in the water. He was so upset. He stopped drinking water and asked his army people and other people who had accompanied him, go find my crown. That is worth half my kingdom. It's very expensive one. Please don't let me lose it. Hope it doesn't get carried away by some internal currents and goes far away. Please jump in. So everybody jumped into the lake and started trying to find. Because everybody jumped at the same time, a lot of dust and dirt inside the lake got moving around. It clogged the vision of people. That means they couldn't even see what was underneath because the dirt came up and it clouded the whole water. The water is not clean and what's not clear. So everything is dusty because of so much of muddled, murky waters. They could not see anything. And because they were agitated mentally, they wanted to find more people went down and deeper and tried to go figure out in the dark. They're not able to see. So then king came out and said he was very upset and he was crying in a lonely place somewhere up in the hill. And then a sage comes in and the sage comes and asks, King, what is happening? And the sage says, look, I lost my crown and everything. Then the sage gives him some water to drink and says, calm down, sit down here. Then they sat and they talked about different things for 2, 3 hours, 4 hours. And the sage was telling him some very impressive stories and ideas and things like that. After 4 or 5 hours, the sage asked nobody to be near the water while listening to his lecture. Finally, everybody was out of water. The water became clear, and then they could see the crown. So when the water became clear, the sun rays went deep into the lake, and they could figure out the crown sitting on the bottom of some place. So that one person could go down and get the crown. What is the summary of the story? If you are mentally disturbed, you will never see the inner Atman. That is why by activity and so many things you will not be able to see. But for a yogi, this Jīvātmā, Paramātmā, and the spiritual entities can be really seen, like as if actually he's seeing, like how you see a crown in the bottom of the lake. So what happens through the process of meditation? Through the process of meditation, you see the self is distinct from the body and mind. And now, what happens to the mind? Mind is cooperative. That means mind is not distracting you. Mind is not making you go into either directions. So then you can choose the object of meditation and say, now my mind is calm. I can meditate with one focus, the object of meditation. So the object of meditation cannot be just a mental construct. then it will be a waste. Sensory expenses, it cannot be just based on sensory expenses. It should transcend what you see through your senses. You have to, right? So pure imagination without any validation is a Brahma. Brahma means delusion. So if you have to focus on an object which is guided and given to you through upadeśa, authoritative guidance. What is upadeśa? People have thought about it. Rishis have meditated and found the truth. And that's how, okay, if you do meditation in this way, you will get it. So it should also be supported by reason. You should validate. There are so many gurus coming up with new clothing and yellow clothing, blue clothing, red clothing, and new gurus are coming, and they may give you wrong information, get your money and go away. So you have to reason out whether that guru is real or not. Then your concept given by upadeśa, that is, if all the shastras and everything will give you a concept, and that concept is real, and the concept can be achieved, and it is not a Brahma or delusion. For example, so the valid object for meditation is a concept which is formed when an idea is received through authoritative teaching and rationally examined and understood. You have to rationally validate it. So only then this object of meditation is real and correct. Okay. So here, this is the way the Vishishtadvaitins and Dvaitins think of meditation in this way. What do they think? It is the concept is understood. The concept should be meditated upon. Whatever may be the object of meditation, it could be God Himself. It could be a picture of the God, or it could be anything, right? Intense meditation will allow that person to perceive the valid concept. So intense meditation will allow a person to realize that object, right? But there is also a parallel process. What is that? Emergence of love. This direct perception during meditation automatically introduces love. And it makes the object very attractive. And this love increases. This is found by yogis, many yogis, right? So this is where the bhakti concept comes in. So it is direct knowledge of the concept, that is Brahman or Kṛṣṇa here, and it accompanies with a lot of love, which is coming from within, devotion which is coming from within. This is known as bhakti. I will try to finish up this because give me a few more minutes because I don't want to stop in the middle. Sorry for this. So what is the nature of bhakti? It is superior and pure, and it's not ordinary emotional attachment and from lower level reasons, but it is profound and transformational and consistent, and that is the bhakti, which is so much of joy and love towards the object of meditation. And this is so when you go beyond all emotional levels, the bhakti starts. It becomes superior. It is not ordinary emotion at all. Many people think that, oh, he went to the temple, he cried so much and came back. Why? He lost his job. That is not bhakti. People may mistake, oh, he went to the whole last 7 days he was in the temple. Why? Because his wife left him. That's not bhakti. Bhakti is beyond all these emotions. And it is something so profound. And that is known as parabhakti. Ordinary bhakti is different. Ordinary bhakti is emotional maybe. But parabhakti is very supreme devotion. What does it mean? It says darshanam parabhakti syat. That person directly sees when parabhakti is there. So when parabhakti comes in, the person can see the object of meditation directly, like how Dhruva saw Narayana, like how Prahlada saw Narasimha, right? So directly see that Lord. What is hallucination? For example, hallucination means wrong knowledge. Marisha, a demon in Ramayana, who was afraid of Rama, he had hallucination of Rama out of fear, because he thought that Rama would come and kill him. So he says, Vrikshe, Vrikshe Chapashyami, Chira Krishnajinambaram, Grihita Dhanusham Ramam, Pasha Hastam Iva Antakam. He says, on every tree I see Rama wearing bark garments and black antelope skin, holding his bow like an Antakara, Yama, a god of death, with a noose in his hand. He's ready to come and kill me. And he sees, he has a hallucination of Rama everywhere. Oh, I see on this tree. I see here. I see here. Oh, I see here itself. So he's hallucinating. That is not reality. So meditation is not hallucination. It is when your mind is totally calm. So how would meditation, the reality is different from imagination. Look at the verse of that of Shandilya in the Chandogya Upanishad. Shandilya is a Maharshi explained in the Chandogya Upanishad. He says, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. He realized through his intellectual sight that everything here is Brahman. We can interpret it differently. Oh, there's only Advaita. Is it Advaita, Dvaita, Vishnu Advaita? Don't worry about that. I see God, the powerful spirit, the Almighty everywhere. That's what he said. This is intellectual sight and it's not hallucination. Okay. Here, I go, this section, I will take it, what time is it now? It's already 8:40. I think it's getting too much and maybe this information is very tough. I'll come to the next, tomorrow I will continue with this, same time. I'll try to do it at 7 unless I cannot prepare enough. I hope I can prepare today. I'm going to stop here. I'll ask you if the session was totally boring, of any value, or you knew everything and I wasted your time. Please be honest. Don't hold back.
Excuse me, what do you mean by intellectual sight?
Intellectual sight is, intellectual means nishchayatmika buddhi. Okay? Even though buddhi is material, when it becomes nishchayatmika, and if it is guided by the lot of correct shastras and upadeśa, that can directly see vision of the Lord. Intellectual sight means purified mind, purified intellect, allowing a person to directly visualize spiritual entities. Not visualize, actually realize and interact with spiritual entities.
Do you need the help of your intellect for the realization? When you realize means, do you have any process of the work of an intellect there? Because it is the product of Prakriti.
True. True. See, the thing is, what do you call buddhya, dhriti grihitaya, all these things are there, right, in the Bhagavad Gītā. Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. Kṛṣṇa says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. You need buddhi yoga, from which you will attain Kṛṣṇa. So, buddhi, when it is, see, the manas and buddhi are utilized, even though they are material, they are utilized in two different senses, right? For example, yato vacho nivartante apya manasa saha, it says, that is the Taittiriya says. The speech cannot describe Brahman, so speech returns without touching Brahman, without being able to understand Brahman, speech returns. Aprapya manasa saha. Even the mind returns because the mind cannot perceive Brahman. right? So mind cannot see Brahman at all. So what is the use of mind? But in another Upanishad says, Manasaivedam aptavyam. Only through mind you can attain Brahman. All it means is there is a difference between purified mind and impure mind. Impure mind is normal state of mind. 99.999% have only impure mind. Pure mind is powerful. Pure buddhi is powerful. That's what it means. So pure buddhi will lead. See, it also depends on your the idea of dharmabhuta jnana. Buddhi is an expression of dharmabhuta jnana. Dharmabhuta jnana is an eternal attribute of Jīvātmā in the Sri Vaishnava view, right? In the Vishishtadvaita view, the Jīvātmā is like a light. Say Jīvātmā is like the sun, and the sun rays are the dharmabhuta jnana, which goes and accesses information about objects and lets the knower know. The knower is like the sun, the Jīvātmā Swarupa, right? So the buddhi is when the mind is purified, the Jīvātmā, that is dharmabhuta jnana itself, acts like the buddhi. So there is no issue. Any other question? Any other question? Was this useful, or is it just like blabbering or repetition of a lot of information?
It was very useful, and I've understood most of the concepts. I've experienced many of the concepts, and the bhakti part was very close to my.
Very good, very good. See, these points become more and more better. You can be much more, you can appreciate it better when you yourself are doing yoga. If you constantly follow meditation, you will appreciate this more and more and more. But the thing is, I haven't even, I'm not a big realized guy or anything like that. I don't know yoga much at all. So I'm only transmitting information, what I got from my grandfather, and also what he summarized out of the Vedas, Upanishads, and Brahma Sūtras. What we're going to do is, we're going to take it to the next level from tomorrow. Go beyond this point. And maybe I'll also give you a sort of a homework to do before tomorrow, right? And I will write this homework. Does the object of meditation change in the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gītā according to Ramanujacharya? What is the object of meditation for Ramanujacharya in the Bhagavad Gītā in the first 6 chapters? And does the object of meditation change from one to something else in the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gītā? This is an important question. Think about it and let me know. I'm going to write this question up in a piece of in the Telegram in both channels so that you can think about it. Why am I asking this question? What I want to do is forget about the Bhagavad Gītā is 700 verses. Only take Ramanuja Bhashya for now. Only Ramanuja Bhashya. Then you say, what steps occur? How does the aspirant move from from the state of Arjuna in the Vishada state, or his crying in front of Kṛṣṇa, not knowing what is dharma, what to do, what not to do, and his body is scorching him, his mind is crazy with perspiration and total exhaustion of his mind. He's asking Kṛṣṇa, guide me. So that is the state initially somebody is in, an aspirant is in. From there, all the way up to in the ladder of yoga, what really happens? If you forget about all the details and just take the path, this is what happens to this guy. When it comes to this is what happens to this guy. When he meditates on this is what happens. That's how he moves from this position to a higher level of realization. We need to understand this pathway in the Bhagavad Gītā. And that is not going to be the whole of Bhagavad Gītā. It's just the main ideas of Bhagavad Gītā. which we need to understand. I'm going to do that for tomorrow. But before that, I'm just giving you a question, a quiz. According to Ramanuja, I already summarized Ramanuja Bhashya earlier in the Bhagavad Gītā, somewhere for like 10-20 lectures or something. We summarized the entire view of Ramanujacharya on the Gita. So that information is given to you. We need to figure out some subtle ideas. Does the object of meditation change for Ramanujacharya in the first 6 chapters? That's the question. Okay, with this, we'll stop. If you don't have any other questions or comments, whatever. We've already taken quite a lot of time today. Hope this was useful to you. Okay now. Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Kṛṣṇa Parabrahmane Namaha, Shri Lakshmi Nrsimha Parabrahmane Namaha, Shri Lakshmi Hayavadana Parabrahmane Namaha, Sarvam Shri Kṛṣṇa Upaniṣads.